May put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland, because we need Greenland for national security, so I may do that.
This whole thing is deranged. This one is absolutely deranged. So we got to check in with President Trump and his continued obsession with acquiring Greenland, the easy way or the hard way. Yes, Greenland, the large, icy country near the Arctic that is, I think, technically an independent, self-governing territory of Denmark. Well, Trump really wants it. And when I first heard this idea, I was like, okay, I mean, they've got resources. It's strategically important. Maybe we could purchase it. But he's like, it's not for sale. They don't want to join us and they don't want to sell it. And he's not really taking no for an answer. So he is now igniting a trade war with our allies over acquiring Greenland, because everything is super normal and stable that's happening here. And we're not at all in a crazy timeline. Guys, let's listen to some coverage from NBC News of what's happening with Trump and Greenland and all of our allies who we're now apparently going to be in a trade war with. Let's watch.
Tonight, a dramatic escalation in President Trump's push to acquire Greenland that could affect the cost of living here in the U.S. The president announcing plans to use tariffs to punish some of our NATO allies, saying in a Truth Social post that starting February 1st, he'll impose a 10% tariff on all goods from Denmark and 7 other countries until Greenland is sold to the United States. The tariff will then increase to 25% on June 1st if no deal is reached. Trump teasing the idea on Friday.
May put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland, because we need Greenland for national security, so I may do that.
The president's move could hurt our allies abroad and make the cost of living even tougher for Americans at a time when the president is already struggling on the issue of affordability. Foreign leaders are firing back at this threat, with the European Union saying tariffs would risk a dangerous downward spiral. The Danish foreign minister called Trump's statement a surprise, noting just days ago they had a constructive meeting with administration officials to discuss increasing the U.S. military presence in Greenland. At a massive protest in Denmark's capital today, people said they're worried about the island's future. Our Ryan Nobles was there.
You can see behind me in this crowd, people wearing red hats, very similar to Donald Trump's Make America Great Again hats, but they have a very different message. Some say in English, make America go away. Others are in Greenland's native language with, if you translate it into English, a message saying enough is enough.
Trump's tariff announcement comes as a bipartisan congressional delegation has been in Copenhagen to try to reassure our allies.
Greenland needs to be viewed as our ally, not as an asset. And I think that's what you're hearing with this delegation.
If the president pursues purchasing Greenland, the price would be exorbitant. 3 people familiar with the matter say it could cost as much as $700 billion. Greenlanders and Denmark, though, say the island is not for sale.
So there's so much to unpack here. By the way, that's what I say when I've heard some crazy shit and I'm still figuring out how to process that. But first, I just want to read you guys a joint statement, because this is not unprecedented, but this is a big deal. This does not happen every day. A joint statement by Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. As members of NATO, we are committed to strengthening Arctic security as a shared transatlantic interest. The pre-coordinated Danish exercise, Arctic Endurance, conducted with allies, responds to this necessity. It poses no threat to anyone. We stand in full solidarity with the Kingdom of Denmark and the people of Greenland. Building on the process begun last week, we stand ready to engage in a dialogue based on the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity that we stand firmly behind. Tariff threats undermine transatlantic relations and risk a dangerous downward spiral. We will continue to stand united and coordinated in our response. We are committed to upholding our sovereignty. Great. So we have a bunch of our biggest allies in Europe and trading partners putting out a statement that basically translates that to WTF. That's what that whole statement is, but just translated through a bunch of diplomats huddled with PR people in an office somewhere. Because this is crazy. This is insane that we would be starting this crisis with our allies and going to economic war because they won't let us take a territory that doesn't want to join us by presumably by force or through coercion in terms of sell it to us or else. when we don't need Greenland. You can say that it's important to our national security, and that can be true, but they already let us in cooperation. They let us put military bases there. They let us run operations there. We can have missile detection systems there. All of that can be done through our peaceable agreements and cooperation with our allies, with Denmark and with Greenland itself. So when Trump says we need it for national security, that's not true. The only reason he needs it is for his ego, right? He wants to be, that's what I think is really happening here. It's maybe Stephen Miller whispering in his ear. They're telling him like, oh, great historic presidents have acquired new land for the country. And it's like, dude, that is so backwards looking and historical and outlook. And it's not what people want. They do not want us to be like freaking Putin and Russia invading territories in the name of our national security and snatching them up. And the idea that you would be imposing 10 or 25% tariffs on our allies over this totally unreasonable demand they are not going to go along with is crazy. Because if you believe, and I think there's a lot of importance and truth to this from the Trump Republican camp, that we need to reduce our economic dependence on China and other rivals, well, the answer to that is more trade with our allies, right? Like with the United Kingdom and with France and with other countries. We should be trading more with them and lowering trade barriers so then we can decouple ourselves from China or for other places where the supply chain is insecure or where they're stealing our stuff or any of these things. But we can't just become some backwards island that makes everything ourselves, right? That's not how a modern, prosperous, advanced economy works or could ever work. So we're just going to have tariffs because there's really no way of looking at this that doesn't lead to increased prices for Americans. Because even if you believe, like Trump does incorrectly, in my opinion, that, other countries pay the full cost of the tariffs. Well, were we to impose these tariffs, they would do retaliatory tariffs on us. So then we would have to pay the cost of those under Trump's logic. Now, the actual truth is that tariffs, which are taxes on imports imposed by the president, which, by the way, he shouldn't be allowed. I know maybe legally there's some authority, but I think we need to go back to the traditional system laid out in our Constitution where Congress imposes tariffs and get rid of these laws that have been stretched to the point of absurdity to let the president just do it however he wants. But yeah, so the truth is that tariffs, there's a share, right? The breakdown of who pays the tariff, it's partly domestic consumers, partly foreign countries and their companies. Partly domestic businesses. It's a breakdown, but some of it does get passed on to consumers. And that might not necessarily increase the overall price level, but it will make specific things more expensive. And then people will have less money to buy other things. It overall hurts consumer welfare and will only make the affordability problem worse. That is probably one of the biggest concerns the American people have with the Trump presidency. And even the polling on the Greenland thing is overwhelmingly against Trump. Nobody wants this except him and some of his couple of advisors whispering in his ears, maybe. But it's such a bizarre hill to die on. And to, like, if you really believe Russia and China and these other countries are serious threats, then we need our allies. Like, we need to be getting closer and teaming up with and supporting and coordinating with Denmark and the United Kingdom and these other nations, not starting trade wars because they won't let us confiscate their territories. This whole thing is deranged. I don't know. Now, some people will say, it's just a negotiating tactic. And I don't know, maybe it works itself out somehow, but none of that to me justifies this erratic behavior and strategy. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet, and all of that.